I wonder if we can kind of have that recognizing holy along with the party celebration motif in church. One of the things I've been talking about is, church really should be a celebration every Sunday. So we have it on Sunday party. And I did print off section 15 of the Missional Life and gave it to my supper and study group, because I guess everyone's trying to refocus. They try to be all things to all people, some of youth and everything, but we're trying to refocus on this idea of meals, fourth Monday meals, supper and study. And he has this great section in 15, starting up to 77, of meals. And he talks about symposium of Plato, the dinner party, and how all these important things happen around a table. Or Dave Eshe put the quote about St. Bridget and the large family gathered around a lake of beer on the Facebook group page. And he asked, how do you think this would play in your churches? And it kind of goes back to even the drinking sanctuary thing. Can we have the sense of the holy, awe and worship that is important, along with having the party and celebration atmosphere? Because it is easy to slip to, we're just partying and going to sing a few praise songs.
I guess that, yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to slip there, but it's easy to slip in the other direction,
but you need to have it. And I guess what I'm thinking is, one of the problems, I think, with, I have like an N of 2 experience, all right? So this could not be, this may not be a universal phenomenon, but there were times in the church where I was interim, there were times when people came and people went. We went through the worship form. Okay. I'm not sure how much worship was happening. I don't want to judge, but I'm not sure. Okay. People came, people went. People came. You went to the Presbyterian church if you were the Presbyterian families in town, and you went to the Methodist church if you were the Methodist families in town, and you went to, and you came and you went, and you came and you went. Changing the form to let's get out and do things outside the church, or let's have a party, a celebration atmosphere. Changing the form is not going to change the fact that worship wasn't happening. If you don't have that overlay that says, a significant part of our function in life is worship, and that's where, that's the grafting to the vine. That's where this this Jesus through me comes from. It doesn't just come because I've decided that we should have meetings in the park instead of in the building or whatever. Changing the form of changing the place is not going to change the fact that worship's not happening. But if worship is central in a significant way, and I don't mean by worship 3 songs, all verses, 3 scripture readings. I don't mean that. I mean the act itself. If we decide that's what's going to happen, then it can happen wherever. However,
I was just reading some sermons and other kinds of presentations by Karl Barth, which makes it sound like I read that all the time. I don't. It's probably the first time I've read it since seminary. But I was at the Festival of Theology at Louisville Seminary a couple months ago, and Joe Small mentioned something about Karl Barth, so I asked him, where is that from? So that's why I was reading it. Because I'm preaching at baccalaureate at Monmouth College Saturday, and I was getting ready for that. But,
really?
I am. But the interesting thing that I read is he was talking to a group of pastors and trying to encourage them about their own preaching and leadership of worship. And he said that people come to worship with expectation. And they all come with one question. And the question they come with is it true? And that is our responsibility as leaders of worship. Every time we worship, we have to answer that question. Is it true? That's what they want to know. Is it true? And of course, you think about all the circumstances that people bring to worship. They can bring it because they're bored, like, is it true, why do I come every Sunday? Or I just found out somebody's dying, is it true, is it, it's just all those things that you bring to worship. But the central question that everyone is asking is it true? And that's what we have to address every time we preach and we worship. I thought that was
That's a great
interesting.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I was thinking of, So on their graduation weekend from college, these 21, 22-year-olds who have chosen to come to baccalaureate, you don't have to go to baccalaureate. Now, maybe their parents who have chosen, they will be in baccalaureate. But, to talk with them about that, that's a question that they will be seeking to answer the rest of their lives. Is it true? And I assume that they're coming to baccalaureate because they have some connection to their faith journey.
But they may come just because the question is right.
Right. Right.
Now that I'm at this point.
So how do we move within that missional mindset? And it was brought up earlier, this idea of our members not wanting to go out, not wanting to be involved, not wanting to truly be part of the priesthood of all believers. If we consider ourselves Reformed thinkers, we follow along with that understanding. How do we get those members to do that? How do we change that? Or is our system, which we have bought into, of ordination of, word and sacrament, elders and deacons, we say we don't really see a hierarchy, but yet there is kind of this hierarchy, because if you're not ordained,
like a way hierarchy.
Oh yeah, COM has had this. It's going to get interesting in the next couple of months. We're really looking at ordination, and do we need to take ordination away from people who haven't used it accordingly and things, and what makes somebody a minister and things. We've definitely seen there is a hierarchy. Who can get communion, who can't. And there's a hierarchy, definitely. The churches are seeing it.
Well,
I'm sorry.
So I guess it looks like there's issues at both ends of the spectrum. We have one where we have people who have been ordained that aren't using it, the way that they are supposed to be using it, and we have people that either aren't being members or aren't being the Christians that they're called to be, to do that. We also have those members who are being Christians are called to be that aren't ordained and are wondering where they fit in.
Yeah, getting the roadblock. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think the hierarchy resides necessarily in the system.
Okay.
I think the system is such, especially if you read about it historically, the system is such that elders and ministers of word and sacrament particularly are in tandem. It's not a hierarchical system arrangement, but it gets translated that way sometimes. And I'm not saying it's on the side of the ministers or the elder. I think people just naturally tend to order themselves hierarchically and either like it or resent it, but they still tend to order themselves hierarchically. One of the things that occurs to me, and this is my old educator background, but one of the things that occurs to me is honoring, and I don't mean ceremonially, honoring the work that people already are doing in that sense. So starting there, saying, the very first thought that occurred to me was modeling that if we're not calling somebody when we do our ministerial thing, I'm using that term kind of a ministerial collectively, when I'm doing ministerial things, if I'm not calling some, and I don't do this well, I didn't do this well, an elder to go with me or a deacon to go with me, and just doing it on my own, then I'm going to be perpetuating that system. But the second thing is then honoring when someone is doing it.